The National Museum of Funeral History presents The Final Curtain Never Closes. I'm your host, Genevieve Keeney Vasquez, the president and CEO of the museum. Today I have a very important guest, and I have to say more important today personally than I unfortunately would like to have to admit, and we'll dive into that a little more. But I am joined today by Niki Weiss, who is the founder of Endevo, the creator of My Final Playbook app, and a host of the Death and Dying in the Digital Age podcast. And Niki, I have to say that what you're bringing to the table with all of the technology that we have, it couldn't be at a more applicable time frame in our lifetime.
And thank you so much for inviting me to join you here, Genevieve. And you're right. The way we die today is not like it was in the past.
Exactly.
And the fact that you acknowledge that, it's a door opening for others to realize how important our digital footprint is and how we need to manage it before we go.
Are you more about preparing prior to death, or are you about leaving your legacy in the digital world, or is it a little bit of both?
So as a digital thanatologist, my company, Endevo, what we do is project management services for end-of-life planning. So I am on my pedestal, I am on my soapbox trying to say to people, plan today, don't wait. Please think about where your life is. And when we talk about the framework of end-of-life planning, it specifically is a holistic view of your legal, financial, physical, and digital aspects of the life that you've built today, right? So when we talk about the legal component, we're going to talk about estate planning, making sure that all of your financial and all of your legal documents are as should be prepared. Then we look at the financials. Do you have all your beneficiaries? Have you identified all of your accounts? Physical, just the physical piece alone, because when we die, we're going to be dying one of three ways, either sudden and unexpected, or we'll get a terminal diagnosis, or like my father-in-law, who's 95 years old, just sitting in long-term care. But either way, we're going to go one of those three ways. So there are decisions that we need to debate around our physical. And then we have this new digital component. But if we don't plan today, the chaos that will ensue for those we leave behind, and all I can say is the digital piece is something we've never thought about before.
And so when you talk about the digital piece, can you dive a little bit more into that and tell us what that looks like?
So let me, a little questionnaire here for you. So Genevieve, your cell phone, do you have an iPhone or an Android?
I have an iPhone.
And do you have your legacy contact set up on your iPhone?
No, I have my in case of emergency person.
So let's just take that in case of emergency piece, right? So that's another question I do ask my clients is, in case of emergency, where do you keep it? You keep them in your cell phone. But what if you're in a car accident and your phone died with you? It was destroyed. EMS shows up. How are they going to know who to contact?
Yeah, because I think before we had everything written down and we had it all in files and, you could actually go into that. And now, everything is in the phone. My bank accounts, my Facebook page, all my passwords, everything is kept in our phone. So your valid point there is if your loved ones don't know how to get into the phone and they're not left as the executor of your estate or have some type of legal standing to have access to that stuff, it could potentially get all locked up, right?
Oh, not just locked up, and you'll have to go to your loved ones will have to go to court in order to get access. So let's stick with the phone first. So, and I would say, look, I have a story. My parents, they passed away. I was 11 years old when my father died and 21 when my mother passed. Bereavement wasn't even a word that we knew, much less hospice, any of those pieces. So that's almost 40 years ago. Then fast forward, first part of my career, I actually worked as a bedside hospice clinician. So I supported families as they were transitioning. Again, this is back in the early 2000s. When I came up with this concept of digital legacy planning and project management service for end-of-life planning is because if I look at where hospice has been, people are still coming in late. They're coming in, instead of 6 months, they're coming in 6 days, 6 weeks, right? They're still coming in short. And I really started to dive deeper into what is this? Why, after all these years, are people not talking about it? And it really is our phone. It is this digital piece that people are now willing to have that conversation of that, oh no moment of, if I die tomorrow, dead is not dead anymore.
Yeah.
Because of our digital footprint. So our phone, multi-factor authentication. If people are not aware of that term, I'm sure they're experiencing it. So that's when you're trying to get onto a website and then the website sends your phone a code that you have to multi-factor authenticate. Well, if you're gone, say that car accident, and your phone is gone with you, how are they going to get into there? Yes. How are they going to be able to access all of your photographs, your accounts? Now, let's say you're gone, but you're not, but your phone, you say you're gone, but your phone isn't gone. I have a lot of people say, oh, my family, my spouse, they know my password. Fun fact, someone going into your phone, even knowing they have your password, that's actually illegal because there are privacy laws out there.
Didn't know that.
And I say illegal like wearing a seatbelt, right? Like wearing a seatbelt is, there's a law around it, but if you don't get caught, but when you do get caught, that's when it becomes a problem. So the phone is a huge piece that people are just not thinking about. But from a digital aspect also, because we are living in what I call a digital and a physical world, right? So we're kind of in a weird space right now. We're like in this gap of transitioning from digital, that hard copy physical, like you talked about having a card, like, a card with all your emergency contacts and then moved from a card to just on my phone. My recommendation now is, because we're in this very risky, wonky place, we need to do both. We need to have everything physically written down, like all your passwords physically written down, and we need to have a digital system. Why? Because floods and fires happen, but also cyber hacks happen. And we're just in that space of, we just don't know what the future is going to hold. So we need to create this dualistic system of a digital system to be able to, for example, let's talk about legal. Most legal documents now are digital. Now you might go into a lawyer and an estate attorney, and they might have you write out your will or your trust, but how are they delivering it? How are you receiving it?
Digitally, and then they digitally file it with the courts. Yeah.
So it's that mindset that we need to start thinking about.
That's interesting.
And that's just what we need to do today, right? So when we talk about our digital footprint, we're going to be talking about our protecting, right? So safeguarding our digital footprint. But then I'm sure later on in this conversation, we can start talking about more of the fun stuff is like, now that we're gone, how do we build out our digital legacy so our family can embrace and not lose who we are today?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Because, there's so many things that we never talk about or think about. And I have to say that's one of the missions of the museum is to get people to come in to a neutral environment and start learning about one of the most guaranteed events in life, which is death. But it's also probably one of the events that we lack to plan. We plan for so many milestones in life, but death just seems to be one of those we keep pushing away. And interesting enough, I'm finding myself in that personally right now. When my mother's husband passed away, unfortunately died 7 hours before signing his will. And so everything went into probate. So going through that arduous task of probate that drew out for 3 years, I literally did put everything into place so that when my mother passes away, I know that I will not ever have to deal with probate. But now I am dealing with her potential death being near because she just came out of the hospital with pneumonia and she's still critically ill. And I have spent the last 2 weeks and last night too, I got the doctors and the palliative nurses, coming at me, telling me, put your mom palliative, put your mom hospice, let's push her full of morphine. And I myself have 20 years of palliative nursing experience. and knowing what it looks like when somebody is at death's door and the transitions and all the medical conditions that present that will lead to a death eventually. My mom wasn't exhibiting those. Initially, she was, but the doctor said everything was fixable, except for her weakness. And so, I stayed by her bedside vigilantly and was her advocate for an entire week. And then my brother came in and helped me out, relieving me so I could get some work done and get some rest to myself, because everyone knows you don't sleep in a hospital very well. However, yesterday I'm walking in Sam's Club and I'm going to get some boost for my mom to try and help regain her energy. And I get a call from the social worker, and here I am there. Well, we should put your mom in palliative. Have you considered hospice? And I'm in the middle of Sam's Club and having to sit here and have this hard conversation. I just stopped my buggy where I was at, and just, my stress level was really, really high still. And I just being asked that question in the middle of the market was something that I was not prepared for. But, trying to wrap my head around it. And again, it's all about, I worked it for 20 years. I'm a death care professional. I'm a funeral director licensed, and I eat, live, and breathe death. But I can tell you, I don't care how professional we are and how much it is part of our life. When it's our loved one, we really are not prepared. And I think it's the emotional aspect as well.
And that's why I'm so with Endevo leaning into people let's have these conversations when you're not in crisis. Let's have these conversations when you're in your 20s and 30s, right? And then your final playbook, it's iterative, right? It's like we're going to change it as people come into your lives. But while you were sharing your very heartfelt story, and thank you for sharing, the struggle you're going with. So even as a professional, you're going through it.
Yeah.
But you were having a conversation in Sam's Club on the phone about your mother's dying.
Yes. Yes.
You were having a digital experience.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Now that you put it in perspective. Yeah.
In the old days, right, before cell phones, we had to make those decisions humanly as a face-to-face conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Exactly.
We had to be sitting by the bedside, and we had less mobility around even your physical footprint, much less your digital footprint.
Mm-hmm.
So if a decision was made, and this is very common where family members are living worldwide now, right? I have several clients who they're immigrants. So they're making these decisions just like you are while their parents are in Dubai or in Shanghai or in another part of the world, and they're sitting in the United States, and they have to make those decisions. Now, when you make those decisions, there's going to be digital aspects, paper signed, power of attorney. How is that being shared so that the person that you're trying to care for has the best possible care available to them exponentially? I have a partnership with a company called Presidio, and they have a digital vault. So, for example, right, if your mother had a medical advance directive and she was in a facility, that facility would need a copy of the medical advance directive.
Yeah, I think I got asked for a copy of that about 5 different times in the last 2 weeks.
So how do you share it?
I just had the hard copy. So I literally had the hard copy because it was created before the digital world started taking hold.
But you could take that hard copy and digitize it, scan it, upload it, and then put it into a safe vault, right? We call it a digital vault. And then you can share that with multiple people instead of, having to either hard copy or like the old days FedEx it or, right? So this is the digital world we're living in right now, and managing as funeral directors, I know that a lot of their practices are changing now. They're doing their planning with the families in a hybrid environment, right? Where there might be a family member on site, in the funeral home, while there might be other family members that are on a Zoom call in order to make those final arrangements. So funeral homes are embracing. They're now, the services are now being televised.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very much so.
So So then that actually becomes a digital asset. That memorial service or that funeral service now becomes a digital asset that the family can hold on to. They can post it on a YouTube channel or a Vimeo channel that of their choosing, and then that funeral service lives on forever.
And it's wonderful because for people who can attend, they are able to go back and be a part of it. One of the things I have to say so it wasn't digital at the time, but it was video recorded, was my sister's service. And I was so grief stricken that I really didn't remember much of it. And the only reason why I do remember it today is because I was able to rewatch the video a couple years later when I had the emotional strength to do it, right? And that's why now I have those memories. But before watching that video, I really couldn't remember much. And I think that that's important to be able to have that available for people.
So, Genevieve, let me ask you, how many photos do you think you have in your phone today?
Thousands. Thousands. Yes.
Thousands. Think about our parents. Think about us, growing up. We didn't have that kind of assets. Mm-hmm. Thousands. So now we need to manage those thousands of photos. I have clients who have spent a fortune, right? That their music accounts. Well, if you don't organize those music accounts or cryptocurrency, NFTs, if we want to get super tech, right? If they don't organize and plan for who will have access or how that distribution will happen, if something were to happen. Again, we're going to die one of three ways: sudden unexpected, or that terminal diagnosis, or the long-term care. So the sudden and unexpected, that's why I like having these conversations with a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old who isn't really, they're not thinking about it. But when I say to them, hey, you die and your phone died, you're mountain climbing, you're out with your friends, something happens. It's relevant. And I would say I have more meaningful conversations with the younger generation than I do like with someone under 40 than I do with someone over 60 or 70.
And it's probably because of our experience with technology.
It's the relevance, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm talking to a 60 or 70-year-old, or if I was talking to your mother, she probably wouldn't even know what digital footprint was, right? Mm-hmm. Or she doesn't have much value to her digital legacy, where the life of a 20 or 30-year-old is all about their phone.
And, I want to make a mention of this because you might have noticed I had gotten a little distracted because a phone call came in. Of course, you got to remember, I'm like a cat on a hot tin roof. I've got to have my phone by me because of that phone call, right? And so as we were talking, I have the hospice care team now trying to contact me right now while we're recording to help set up plans for my mother. And here they're sending me all their digital brochure, basically. And I'm receiving it on the phone so that I can make a choice that I feel is best for my mother.
Making decisions. Well, let me share with you a project that I'm currently working on, which is very relevant to the funeral industry. My partners and I, we are launching an AI agent. I'll explain what that is, but an AI agent for the funeral industry. So this is for the intake process, because what we're finding is, based on research, is that when people need funeral services, and I'm talking more of the younger generation, they're going on social media. They're just filling out the intake forms. They don't want to talk to a human.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
They don't. They just want kind of what hospice is doing to you right now. They just want that automated, quick touch point. We don't need to get on a phone. You don't need to come in. We don't need to have a conversation. I just need the information so I can get you the information back, the pricing, whatever that collateral you need to make a decision.
Yeah, exactly. And then the DocuSign, and you just go in and sign everything on the documents, and then that's it. It's all done.
It's all done digitally. So now with this new AI agent, so let me explain what an AI agent is. So we have created, we're just launching her next week. Her name is Grace, Grace, our funeral services AI agent. So a funeral home can now add AI Grace. So instead of using call center, using humans, we are now using an AI agent, not a chat bot. It's an agent that is constantly learning as they're having a conversation with you. And it sounds human. It has empathetic tones. It can pick up on your emotional, not just verbiage, but cadence of your call, of your voice. If you sound upset, they have the ability as an AI agent to be able to meet you as the caller where you're at. And then to provide the information you were looking for, whether it's a pickup, maybe, maybe you're calling saying, my mother's on hospice. It looks like death is imminent. And then the AI agent, Grace, my agent, will ask specific questions in order to gain that information. And then, unlike a human, they are then going to go ahead and create the call is recorded. It's being aggregated, all the data points, the relationship, the condition of the patient or the decedent. What kind of funeral arrangements would you like? Would you like, just a direct cremation? Would you like embalming? Would you like funeral services or a celebrant? Like, the AI agent would have those conversations, acknowledging that they are an AI, that they are not a human. But at any point in time, if that person wants to have, to talk to a human, because the funeral industry is 24/7, they can go ahead and transfer the call to a human, and then the human would now get, just like you're getting from the hospice agency, a report in real time of the conversation, highlighting what information that human funeral director might need to know.
Oh, wow.
That is where we're at today.
Do you find this as a disconnecting or an enhancement to service?
For us, it's the enhancement, because people are going on to a funeral website and just filling out a contact us page.
I see. Yes. Oh, okay. So this is, instead of just filling out a contact us page, excuse me, hitting the send button, now you're actually immediately connected. You're able to start having what feels like a conversation. So you're getting streamlined. You're not just filling out a contact us and wait for that return call.
The research I've done is that funeral directors are missing a lot of opportunities because they're either a family owned, mom pop shop. They're not able to handle these multiple calls or so they're handling calls coming in from the phone. They're handling walk-ins. They're handling the contact page. Now they're handling social media, right? Because people just might be messaging them on social media.
Yes.
For a small operation, they need the support, that administrative support. And an AI agent has the efficiency, the cost, and then the speed. And then it's also probably doing something that some of the other call centers aren't doing, is they're aggregating all this data and information of people, why they're calling, what price point they're looking for, what services.
So, I mean, like, you have so many amazing services. My question would be, you understand where I'm at with my mother now. What part of services would you recommend for me that would be beneficial to me, since I am so close potentially to my mother's death? What would that look like for me with either Endevo or the My Final Playbook app? Would any of these be of benefit to me, since I would say I wasn't aware of it? My mother is very close to death. Can I still take advantage of any of this?
So for you, I would say, is your mother still cognitive? Like, can she still hold a conversation?
No, she can't. She can say yes or no. She can repeat you. She could say I love you, but not really have, a cognitive conversation. She's aware of her surroundings and when somebody's there, but she can't even, lift her arms anymore. So
for you and your mother, it really is, what is her digital legacy going to look like, right? So her funeral, are you going to televise it? Is it going to be, are you going to create a digital asset around the service? If that is a decision that you and your family choose to do, right, to memorialize her funeral services, where would you like that stored, right? The storage of your digital assets is very important. So there's technology currently out there where you can put a QR code on a headstone.
Oh, yeah.
and that QR code, once you scan it, will go to, currently as of today, 2025, it'll go to maybe, a YouTube channel or a family website or something but where we're at tomorrow, and that technology already exists today. Remember Star Wars, the first episode, where R2D2 projected an image of Princess Leia?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that technology exists today. So now imagine you're walking through the cemetery, you come up to your mother's site, the QR code, now you scan the QR code, now pops up a projected image of your mother, and she can share her story, probably like they have in other museums. I know at the
kind of like a hologram.
It's exactly a hologram.
Wow.
It's a holographic experience. Many museums are using this technology now.
Mm-hmm.
Add AI to it, because now say your mother had captured all the stories of her lifetime. With AI technology, I can go up and ask her a specific question, and AI will answer my question I'm asking, instead of just like a reel of repeated video.
So is all of this protected? Because for me, I'm just going to ask this question for perhaps some of our listeners. One day I go up to my mother's gravesite and I'm looking forward to seeing her holographic image, and somehow it gets lost into cyberspace and it's no longer there. And I feel like then maybe I'll be experiencing her death all over again. Is there something there that keeps that from happening, and trying to protect the emotional impact that might have?
So there's a television show out there called Black Mirror.
Okay.
If you're not familiar with Black Mirror, a lot of the technology we're talking about right now was already an episode 10, 15 years ago. So it's amazing that they were thinking about that. You bring up a really great point. We're in this no man's land right now. We don't know what technology, is it going to be benevolent or nefarious? And it's a very big ethical question we're asking right now. I mean, people who are involved in AI technology ask this question every day. Is it going to be helpful to us or hurtful? Now, roll back the clock 30 years when they introduced the internet to us. And it was the same, the internet is going to be taken over by the porn industry and by nefarious activities. And yes, that does happen, but there are a lot of wonderful things that happen on the internet, our conversation today. So I just want to it's a seesaw, it's a balance. Blockchain, AI technology, quantum computing, they're at our shoreline right now. We see that tsunami coming in. But this is what I can say that your listeners can do today for takeaways. So, number one, secure your phone. If there's anything I can't emphasize enough is with your iPhones, now I have an Android. So Android users, we have to go into Google Inactivate Password Manager. So there's multiple steps as an Android user. As an iPhone user, you're going to look and set up it's called legacy contacts. So your legacy contacts, you're going to go into your settings go into privacy. You're going to see it'll say sign in to privacy. I'm happy to share a video with you. And you're going to go in and set up your legacy contacts. This means that if you die tomorrow and your phone died with you, that whoever is in your iPhone legacy contacts, they will have legal permission to gain access to your data. They would have to take your death certificate, and as long as their name is in your legacy contacts, then they will be able to receive it. That's number two. Number one is your phone. Number two, go into all of your social media accounts. Make sure that you have your legacy contacts in your social media accounts. That's a question I ask is, what do you think happens? You want to make sure that you are memorializing all your social media accounts. And that does change. They're constantly changing the settings. So either deactivate or just pull it out. The third thing I ask people to do is think about your reoccurring subscriptions on your credit cards. If you have, do you have an inventory of all your subscriptions on your credit cards? And I also, am very mindful to say is if you have secret accounts that you don't want your loved ones to find out about. And I'm saying that because I do have a client who found out that her husband was having an affair after he passed. And that It's heartbreaking, and it's just an awful way to go, because now from a grieving process, they're dealing with the loss of their beloved husband and the anger they have out of finding out. So that's a whole nother episode we can talk about.
I mean, it's nothing to be laughed about. It was just the fact that we could have another episode. I was like, yeah, there's so much here.
So much to unpack. So my last, takeaway for everybody is, just as you have a medical advance directive, my advice is to create a digital legacy advance directive. So this is another legal document that you can create, should create. Now, the person who might be designated as your medical proxy might not be the same person who's going to be designated as your digital legacy advance directive. Why? Because whoever you're assigning to as your digital legacy advance directive should have a fairly high acumen to be able to manage technology, right?
Right,
Just
yes.
because your favorite child you love, if they're not good with technology, maybe you might need to assign it to somebody else.
So who can I go to set up this digital legacy advance directive? Is that something I do myself? Is it something I have to go to a lawyer for? Is it something I have to tie up with into my will or a trust? Where does that, how do I start that?
So on Endevo, we do have free copies of a template for a digital legacy advance directive. So happy to share with that at endevo.life. ENDEVO.life, endevo.life. So we have that available to you. And then you in this day and age, you as the consumer are going to have to educate your estate attorneys. This digital legacy advance directive is new. People don't know about it. So you're going to have to start educating people on what it is, on how to use it. And then, yes, incorporate it into your trust. Make sure your executor knows that, hey, by the way, I have all of my passwords, all of my accounts. I'm giving legal permission, designating a advance directive executor to manage this. So it needs to be part of the estate planning process.
And it could be, like you said, the different person from who has decision-making over your medical, as well as it could be different than the person you leave behind as your trustee to manage your estate, correct?
Correct. This should be somebody that is comfortable with technology and understands. They don't need, they understand, because they're going to have to get into your accounts, and it might involve multi-factor authentication and contacting the vendor and, providing a death certificate and then moving through that very, arduous process. That's why you and I are in that position, right? It's like, we know what it's like after you die. Mm-hmm. So plan for it ahead of time to avoid all the chaos, confusion, and conundrum.
Exactly, because you're so bogged down with all of these decisions that have to be made. You're so bogged down with all this information that they're trying to pull out from you that you don't even know, and then you got to go search for it. And it truly is difficult to try and come up with all of that. And, it's interesting because, you always say, plan for your funeral, plan for your funeral, plan for your funeral. But I think now we need to say, plan for your funeral, plan for the end of your life and all that made up your life, right? The technology that's incorporated into your life, all of the financials that are incorporated into your life, and then the people that you leave behind, because truly they're the ones that's going to carry the weight of all that's left behind after you pass away.
It's so true. I mean, death isn't the end anymore. The physical death isn't the end anymore. We have a digital life now. We need to acknowledge it. And we need to organize it before we go.
Well, I have to say, I have learned a lot today. And I have to say, I mean, you brought up a concept that, yes, technology is my daily life. Without it, I feel like my arm is broke, right? But I never thought about the impact that this reliance on technology will have when I die. And so you really enlightened me. It's definitely something I need to share with my children because I'm not talking about sharing with my children as far as, oh, you need to help me organize my digital legacy. It's you guys are more into this technological world than I am, and you need to think about, you guys live more digitally. You really need to make sure your digital world is put together and you create your legacy. I mean, we never want our child to pass before us.
Life happens, though.
Life happens, and if they do, I think it's important to even tell your children, and if you have grandchildren, tell your grandchildren to organize their digital legacy as well.
It is. Well, Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Oh my gosh.
To spread the word, to tell people that, and probably in the museum, we're going to start looking at this component, right?
I really think that we need to incorporate this as another teaching exhibit that people can understand that this is part of our life daily. That's one of the things that, which is important about visiting the museum, is that not only do you learn the history of our industry and how we've been caring for our dead since the beginning of time, but you're also learning about things that you can incorporate in your own funerals today, as well as understanding the importance of planning for your death and the things that you need to look at. We basically kind of, like I said in the beginning, give you that neutral environment to start opening up your mind to the fact that we all will die one day. And we do have choices, and the choice to make those that we leave behind a peaceful passing of ourselves, and try not to burden them with that in which we leave behind. But then the digital legacy, like you said, I can live on for my loved ones in the absence of my physical body. And what will that look like? What can it look like? So we have just touched on so many amazing things. And again, so Endevo.life is where you can go to learn more about this. And of course, you can go onto her podcast, Death and Dying in the Digital Age. And I'm sure you have amazing podcasts that are even going to dive deeper into what we just barely touched on here today. So thank you so much for being my guest. Again, I really hope that so many people have been enlightened by this podcast.
And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining me today on this podcast, and I hope that you will share this episode with family and friends. We look forward to any feedback you have to offer by giving us a review on Apple or Spotify. And always remember, any day above ground is a good one.